Hey everybody, I am Goose, and you're watching On with the Show. And today's topic is something that's just been it's just becoming more and more inundated with more videos and more stuff coming out of Seattle with their new mayor Katie Wilson, and how a lot of people are now scratching their heads, kind of like, did we really choose the right mayor? Or because it's becoming more and more apparent that Katie Wilson is in way over her head. That she it's becoming more and more obvious that she does not have the experience to be leading one of the United States bigger cities in Seattle, and it is becoming. And I know this is more and more off topic. Hey, Goose, when are you going to get back to the more entertainment stuff? Hey, I talk about stuff. First of all, I talk about more and more like current events and things that are going on. I'm starting to more and more try to lead the show into that direction. I am going to be talking more and more about Hollywood because, trust me, tomorrow's show you're not going to want to miss. But I can't stop getting more and more stuff on my social media and on YouTube about Katie Wilson. And so we're going to talk about Seattle and get into this for today's topic. I'm going to switch over to the OBS and we're going to get into this program. All right. And the headline reads from Fox News, dated May 6th, from Brian Flood, says Seattle's mayor's Starbucks boycott call slammed by local radio host as coffee giant adds Nashville-based roles. You have to be careful the way you talk to somebody that actually has the opportunity to leave, G. Scott says. And let's get into it. A local radio host accused Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, of irking Starbucks by calling for a boycott ahead of the hometown company's decision to open a new hub in Nashville. Starbucks has appeared to lessen its presence in Seattle, acknowledging in March it will be closing 5 additional stores in the city. That move follows several closures in 2025, including the Starbucks Reserve Roastery on Capitol Hill, as the coffee giant plans to add or relocate 2,000 jobs to Nashville. Last year, Mayor Wilson declared at a barista picket line, "I am not buying Starbucks and you should not either." According to the Seattle Times, the paper called it a gaffe. No wonder, that's more than a gaffe. To suggest locals should boycott the hometown company. And KIRO news radio host G. Scott, no relation to me, seems to agree. The comment about, "I'm not buying Starbucks and neither should you," should never have happened. That should have never happened with the leader, Scott said on the G and Ursula show. I should check that out. "I'm not saying that the mayor of Seattle is the reason that Starbucks is doing this," he continued. "I'm saying that there should have been a grown-up discussion and conversation." G also compared Seattle's treatment of business to other cities such as Nashville and Austin. Sometimes when you are in a relationship, and some of you maybe have been in a relationship where you could not afford to move, and somebody just talked bad to you any kind of way, and you're at a job where you have to constantly come in and you don't feel appreciated, but you don't have another job or other options. So you have to stick it out in that job. You have to be careful the way you talk to somebody that actually has an opportunity to leave. KIRO host Ursula Rutten, hopefully I said that right, added, "There are other cities that are walking up or have woken up and have said, hey, we're going to compete for this business." Mayor Wilson's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Fox News Digital. Of course she didn't, because that would mean she'd actually have to back up her comments because Starbucks, who started in Seattle, they started in Seattle. That's where the dream started for Starbucks, and it grew from there. And now the corporate is decided they're going to move their company to Tennessee, where right now Tennessee is being very, very corporate friendly. In Seattle, matter of fact, the whole state of Washington is deciding that it's having problems uh, because it's proposing a millionaire's tax. We're going to get into that in a minute because they're trying to do the same thing here in California, where it's actually gaining steam. And I'm going to basically talk about that in a minute. Let's go to the next headline. Next headline, this is from Fox 8. Seattle mayor refuses to grade herself as crime, homelessness surge. Mayor refuses to grade herself as crime and homelessness surge. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson refused to grade herself amid growing homelessness and crime crisis, saying she's always striving to do better. It says read more. I'll click on the read more, and it takes us to Fox News. So I know a lot of people say, well, why are you always doing Fox News? Well, Fox, it's okay. I clicked on read more, and this is where it took me. All right, Seattle mayor refuses to grade herself as crime and homelessness surge. Well, oops, sorry about that. Wilson said, she's not giving myself a number grade, but we're always striving to do better. This is from Rachel DeGuitis. So I'm now all of a sudden I'm getting all these notifications. This is published today on the 7th, May 7th, and it goes on to say, as I'm trying to go down here, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson refused to grade herself amid growing homelessness and crime crisis in the Evergreen State. By the way, if you did know, and I don't have much news on it here, there was basically a shooting near where she was doing an event. In a video clip posted Wednesday on X by Jonathan Cho, I hope that's right, Discovery Institute senior journalism fellow Wilson was asked, how do you grade your work so far as mayor? The mayor responded saying, we're doing the very best that we can, and there's always room for improvement. So I'm not giving myself a number grade, but we're always striving to do better. All right. So I clicked on the video, and here it is. Sorry for the sound. Because all of a sudden now everything... This is what happens sometimes. So let me back that up.
How would you grade your work so far as mayor?
We're doing the very best we can, and there's always room for improvement. So I'm not giving myself a number grade, but we're always striving to do better.
Yeah, that's... Can I just say that's a cop-out answer? That's a cop-out answer. I'm not going to give myself... Well, we're always striving to do better. FixHomelessness.org. And he says here...
How would you grade your work so far as mayor?
As I pause this. Failing grade, Socialist Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson's administration is off to a rough start. She's getting cooked for her questionable decisions on public safety and homelessness. She's also being blamed for business exodus from the city. If you haven't, by the way, I saw this morning, and she's being blamed. I mean, crime in her cities, but there was a 77-year-old man who was beaten by two guys. And thankfully, they had cameras up, the city cams up. And she's talking about possibly doing something with the city cams so that because of a privacy issue. And I get privacy issues, but she's stating it in a way that's kind of like really weird. Like, the immigrant community. Why are you so concerned with the immigrant community in this? I mean, I understand, there's privacy issues. I get all that, I don't like having my privacy violated either. But here's the thing. In today's day and age, when I don't even know why people try to even get away with crime, because there are cameras everywhere now. Ring cameras and, city cameras and traffic cameras and all kinds of cameras. But she's basically, I'm not going to give myself a number grade because you're not really doing that well. And people are calling you out on it, but there's always room for improvement. Yeah, that's a cop-out answer. There's always room for improvement. If my kid came home with a D on his report card, and he said, well, there's always room for improvement. And I was like, yeah, there is room for improvement. You got a D. Let's move on. I'm going to go to a video here from KOMO in Seattle. Again, I'm sorry for the audio because I still haven't figured out how to do this, but let's play. It's about almost 4 minutes.
Seattle's mayor is declining further comment about a series of viral moments that have overshadowed any sort of policy discussion and raised new concerns about her leadership. The incidents have garnered national headlines from coast to coast and sparked questions about who is running the city. KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels is live from Seattle to explain tonight. Chris.
Yeah, Molly, Seattle's mayor was at an event last week. It was interrupted by gunfire, and Katie Wilson was rushed to safety. We did attempt to ask her a rather straightforward question about public policy when it comes to surveillance cameras, but we were interrupted by her staff. It was the third in a series of events that leads some to wonder whether these verbal missteps will have other impacts for the city. Does that change it? Does that change your perspective at all?
Let's keep it on topic.
Public policy question of Seattle's Mayor Katie Wilson.
I'm sorry, I specifically said to keep it on topic.
Is interrupted by a junior city staffer.
Maybe we can set up a different time for that.
But the mayor
Okay.
first.
So let's pause here for a minute. Let's try to set up a time where we can, in other words, she wasn't prepared for this question. And we want to make sure we take her aside so that she's briefed well enough to answer your questions. That's what's really going on here. She wasn't expecting his question, and so they're jumping in to save her. Which almost reminds me of when the Easter Bunny saved Joe Biden way back when. I mean, it's like, when does your staff come in and save you from being asked a question on policy that she should already know? All right? That's what's going on here. That's the weird thing.
I understand. Maybe we can set up a stage.
Sage Wilson is the mayor's press secretary. Declined to talk further about the effort by the low-level Seattle Public Utilities liaison to derail the conversation.
That's just not great press management.
No, it's
Sandy
not.
Akashik is a longtime Seattle political and campaign consultant.
And it's kind of a rookie mistake.
He says the incident followed two others in recent weeks when she refused to discuss Starbucks' corporate expansion to Nashville.
But this is a chance for us to ask you.
Did you just see that? Let's go. Let me just go back for this. Let me just see if I can put this back up here. This is not the subject of our press conference. In other words, they're doing a press conference and he wants to ask a question regarding the Starbucks thing I just talked about. And she's going, this is not the subject of our press conference. In other words, she's not ready for this question. And I don't know. I'm not a press secretary. I've seen them in action. If you watch certain press secretaries, and you can see the gal right next to her is visibly uncomfortable with this whole thing, which must be one of Katie's handlers. And she's visibly upset with it. She's probably trying to get this reporter to stop. And because if you're a press secretary, you must be prepared for all questions. Especially if you've gone in front of a group of people who've said, I'm going to boycott Starbucks, and so should you. And now they're calling her out on it because Starbucks is moving to Nashville, out of the city where they were founded. Let's keep going.
For us to ask you.
Or seem dismissive of wealthy people leaving the area during an onstage appearance at Seattle U last month.
If, the ones that leave, like, bye.
Oh my God.
Sometimes comments that somebody like the mayor makes can have real repercussions in terms of actual, economics for the city, jobs, and the business climate.
I think it's concerning anytime we have elected officials wanting to say goodbye to the job base, goodbye to the tax base of their economy.
Chris Johnson is the president of the Association of Washington Business and says a spring survey of members suggests more are now looking to relocate out of state.
Oh, man.
With 91% putting a pause on expansion
91?
because of state policy.
Wait. 91% of businesses are now pausing expansion in the state of Washington. Let that sink in for a minute.
Movement of people, both individuals and their businesses, is real. It's happening.
Which may be the next question Wilson will have to address when the mayor agrees to meet with reporters.
So, yeah, when the mayor decides to meet with reporters, there's the key. That's the key statement in that whole thing.
Koshik adds that there is real tension right now between the progressive left in Seattle and the business community, and there has been some fraying of that relationship, but he also credits Mayor Wilson with trying to repair some of that gap, especially in announcing her most recent shelter plan. Molly Preston.
And Chris, Wilson did end up answering your legitimate question about expansion of the surveillance program after the shooting?
She did answer it.
What you saw on camera was interrupted by one of the junior level staffers. She did come back to me after the event that she was having last week to answer that question. I asked her again whether she was going to suggest any sort of policy change when it comes to surveillance cameras in the city because of what she went through. And she did tell me no at this point, that she believes there does need to be a full audit of that program, and there needs to be a balance here between privacy and public safety. That's a story we'll continue to follow as well.
All right, so let's minimize this right quick. So in other words, she came back to answer his question after the event. In other words, she got her little briefing from her staff. This is what you need to say. In other words, what do you think we need to say? This is what we need to say. Because again, Starbucks has left the building. And because of this shooting, and now because of this beating, I didn't want to go. I mean, this would have been one thing after another if I continued. And this just happened today. If you have not seen it, it's brutal. They were actually able to catch the guy who did it. Let's go back here to what we were saying because we posted the clip. Wilson received fierce blowback on social media. This is what I'm talking about. After a 77-year-old man was seen on video being beaten by two individuals in a crime that was captured by closed-circuit television. Those are the cameras they're talking about. A tool that Wilson has denounced in the past as something that makes the community feel unsafe and vulnerable. I think you're gonna find out that the cameras there are not gonna make the people feel more safe and unvulnerable, because they actually, I think, caught one of the two guys that did this. The Washington State Standard reported in August that a total number of individuals counted as homeless is a 4.4% increase from 2024 and a 25% increase overall from 2022. Additionally, the year-over-year increase was approximately consistent with a 4.07 rise from 2023 to 2044. In other words, their homelessness just keeps going up and up and up. Businesses are heading out of Washington following the March passage of the millionaire's tax, the state's first ever income tax pushed by progressive and socialists and opposed by conservatives. During a recent event in Seattle, Wilson was self-described socialist, laughed and appeared to dismiss, as we just saw in the video, to possibly the millionaires that would leave the state. I think the claims that the millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown. And if the ones that leave, like bye, Wilson said. Again, Fox Digital reached out to Wilson for a comment. She didn't have one. You know what? I'm going to break here. I want to see this. Clueless socialist mayor in the hot seat again, Fox News, after a 77-year-old man beaten in downtown Seattle goes viral. Let's see this. Oh, there's no sound on this. Yeah, look. So let's back this up. Let's see it again. Again, warning graphic content. So it's just graphic content. So you see the guy, he's walking, all of a sudden, bam, gets knocked to the ground. His buddy pulls him off. They kick him. They take something. Now the close-up. Let's get the close-up. Oh, okay. They knock him to the ground. I don't even think they even take anything from this guy. They kick him. Then the dude goes back, picks up his... Oh, they do. They take something from him. Okay. And they walk away. Wow. And she's going to sit there and say that the cameras make people feel unsafe and vulnerable after this. I think she's in way over her head. Let's see if I get out of this. But yeah. Really quick, Seattle's socialist mayor Katie Wilson. That's not what I wanted to do. Seattle socialist mayor Katie Wilson facing fierce blowback on social media after a 77-year-old man is seen beaten on video by two individuals in a crime that was captured by closed-circuit television cameras, a tool that Wilson has denounced in past, saying that it makes the community feel unsafe and vulnerable. Yeah. Here's turning on the cameras. Turning on more cameras won't magically make our neighborhoods safer, but it will certainly make our neighborhoods more vulnerable. Okay, yeah, I'm going to stop here. I mean, this is all I need to see. I mean, just absolutely, I think this was by Andrew Mark Miller a couple of days ago on March 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, I'm gonna close out the OBS. I'm gonna talk more about this on the other side of this, so just hang on with me. So yeah, the more and more I see this, the more and more I believe she's in way over her head. She probably thought this would be a cakewalk. She probably thought, the socialists are now in power now. The progressives are now in power now, and we're going to do what we need to do for the city of Seattle to bring it into the new century. And the problem is that she's facing, she failed to realize the political ramifications of what would happen if she did what she did. She's not taking seriously any of the business climate there in Seattle. They're still back in when, they had the Chaz Chop, Summer of Love thing going on, where it was this autonomous zone and everybody's the free love and it's everything, the Summer of Love and the spaghetti dinners and all this other stuff, where actually two people were, I think, shot. And the city was actually sued for that because they wouldn't allow first responders to go in and get these people out. They're still believing that they can have this progressive utopia in Seattle, and they're not taking a page of what just happened down, south of them in San Francisco. San Francisco tried this already. They had a progressive mayor. They had a progressive DA. They had progressives on their school boards and the border and all of this, and it epically failed. I've said this before, Chesa Bodine, who was their progressive DA, who was recalled, who who kept saying it's a Republican recall. That's the Republicans that are recalling me. And I kept joking that, you needed 85,000 signatures to get a recall on the ballot. And I kept joking, I don't think you can find 85,000 Republicans in the city of San Francisco. And yet he believed the dastardly Republicans were behind it. And he got yanked out and was then a more democratic, moderate DA was put in his place. So it was more, hey, we need to get back to the more law and order things here in San Francisco. And then London Breed, who was the mayor, the progressive mayor, who basically in the middle of a debate looked at her opponent and said, I don't think you can name 5 drag queens here in the city of San Francisco. And I'm sure people sat there and went, what does that have to do anything with the policies of San Francisco? And she got voted out. And, shortly in between the two of that, they had progressives on the board, board of directors, board of supervisors, polled. They had progressives on school board, polled. They're all gone. They're all basically been replaced with more moderate Democrats, which is what San Francisco really is. It is a blue city. It is a Democrat city. But when they tried to do the progressive utopia in San Francisco, boom. It failed epically, and people were either voted out or recalled out. And you're going to see the same thing happen here in Seattle. People are there, and again, what happens in Seattle really doesn't concern me. I find it interesting. I find it almost comical, the fact that the state is going to pass a millionaire's tax. And trust me, it doesn't stop with a millionaire's tax. They're trying to do the same thing here in California. They want to pass a billionaire's tax. They want to pass, and they say it's a one-time tax on billionaires, 5% on billionaires, that they think will somehow bring the state out of debt by taxing the billionaires here in the state of California. One time, 5%. And the billionaires are already starting to leave. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, I think, packed his bags and left the state of California. But here's the thing, and I've lived long enough to tell you this. That it's never just a one-time tax. No, when all the billionaires have left and they can't tax anybody, they're going to go after the millionaires. Which is funny because I saw a video recently of Pokimane who said, we need to eat the rich. We need to tax the rich. And the dude standing next to her was like, hey, you're a millionaire. You are rich. Yes, you are rich. You're a millionaire. Matter of fact, I think it was somewhere like, I can't remember if it was 6 million or 16 million. And she was jokingly saying, well, I'm worth more than that. I make more money than that. Okay, well, I don't want the details of how much money you make. None of my business. But when you say tax the rich, and you are the rich, that's a joke. That is a joke. I mean, I like to say that's a joke and a half. That is so funny that you would sit there and say tax the rich, and you are rich. And trust me, they never stop with just the billionaires and the millionaires. They keep going on down to people are making good 6-figure incomes. They're going to tax them more. And it's going to go down to where it's like all of a sudden you realize that, first of all, even in the state of California, even if you have a 6-figure income, I'm going to say a low 6-figure income, you're still considered, you're making more, but you're still struggling because there are parts, and I'm going to sit here and just basically tell you, there are parts of California where it's expensive, and there are parts of California where it's not so expensive. And if you can find the places in California that aren't so expensive, you're going to, truthfully for me, when I moved here, we used to live in the Bay Area. And I say that because, we used to live in the Bay Area. It was tough. When we had our second son, we were finding out how much it was really going to cost us to live just in the Bay Area. We weren't even in San Francisco or in Silicon Valley. We were on the peninsula. And it was like, we were having a hard time and we moved here to Bakersfield and realized, oh my gosh, we can buy more house with less income. It was a shocker. And we could still live on less. I mean, it's a struggle now, but we can still live on less and be able to get by. Because there are some parts of California that are cheaper than other parts of California. You just have to find them. That's just the case. Going back, though, to Mayor Katie Wilson in Seattle, she, like I said, she's in way over her head. And I even believe the people that she has surrounded herself with don't know what they're doing either. What's really going on is they're trying to get this progressive utopia going in Seattle. They've been trying to do it for years. Now that they have a socialist in there who is a well-educated socialist, by the way. They believe that they can achieve their dream. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's only going to get worse before it gets better. San Francisco went through the same thing. And when it finally got bad, they did an abrupt 180 and said, well, this isn't what we signed up for. Yes, you have Democrats in Seattle who probably voted for this, thinking that it's going to make things better. And we have to Democrats, we have to stick together. The only thing is the Democrats that are there now are not the Democrats that used to be there. And if you're going to change the climate, I mean, again, they told Starbucks to take, she said to the millionaires, why in the world would you tell your tax base to leave? Kathy Hochul did the same thing. You see what they're going, now she's begging them to come back. When Andrew Cuomo was the mayor of New York, he said the same thing, and he was begging them to come back, and they didn't. And now they got a huge, and I'm not even going to talk about the fool in New York City. There are times where I sit there and I'm just like, and here's what I'm going to say. You voted for this, and this is what you're going to get. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And the only way it's going to get better is if the people you have in office decide, oh, this wasn't what we thought. We better make changes now before we're voted out because we'd like to stay here for a while. Or the people who voted you in are like, oh, this isn't what we voted for. We need to get someone in there that knows what they're doing. And we need to get these people out. And I got another notification. So anyway, I'm done with that today. I'm actually a little over time. If you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications so you always know when a new podcast hits YouTube. Give me a big like on the video. Give me a big thumbs up. This does help me with the algorithm and helps me get this out to more and more people. Share this out to your friends, family, neighbors, and let them know what I'm doing over here for On With The Show. And do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this situation. Do you think that the Mayor Katie Wilson is in over her head? Do you think that she has no clue what she's doing? Or do you think that, hey, give her time, and eventually she'll give herself that number grade because she'll know that hey, things are getting better here. Because I want to know this. Because I do read your comments and I do want to know what your opinions are with these topics. With that all being said, I am Goose. This is On With The Show. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you all on the other side.